All right, everybody, let's talk about doing very kind of dark night renders that aren't quite completely night, and I'll show you why. All right, so here we have our scene. We've got our sort of build, our home design. I think this is just a warehouse model. We've got some nice little decorative lamps that will just kind of help guide the viewer's eye in. And we're using the trees to frame our shot and to provide a bit of negative space. So let's click on the scene up here, which is Bad Night. And I'll kind of show you how, like, a lot of people will be tempted to do this, which is we grab the geo and sky and we'll turn off the clouds because, it's a nighttime render. And then what we end up doing is just kind of grabbing the geo and sky sun. And we're going to go all the way down to, well, let's look at pitch black first. Like, this is wrong for so many reasons. Firstly, even kind of at nighttime, you're going to have ambient light. This is really like if you're doing like an urban render, like a nighttime render is not a pitch black render. And even for a home like this, it's kind of out, maybe in a woods or some nice secluded area. The night sky is not going to be this dark. It just won't be this black. And there's a lot of technical reasons kind of for that. Like D5 uses, I think, like something like I think it's kind of like two rays and two bounces. I think is kind of what it's doing. But anyway, real light environments are not going to be this dark. So then you might be tempted to be like, well, I'll bring this slider back to where we're getting some light. And technically speaking, that is kind of more accurate, but even that doesn't look right. And one of the reasons is D5's Geo and Sky, when you put it in kind of like the nightish time, or you put it in the early morning, thinking again, maybe, this will be a little bit more accurate. It takes on a very purple tint. And I know there's probably ways you can go in there and kind of fiddle with this a little bit, but like that is not quite right for early morning, and it is certainly not right for like nighttime. Comes to doing sort of nightish renders, the geo and sky, it's just not the way to go. There's probably some value in here, like, kind of maybe close to that, which is more accurate, but even still, it doesn't look great. All right, so I'm going to run through two different lighting setups that I have. They're very similar. There's some differences. I'm going to explain how I have these set up. Let's look at night number one. Okay, so night number one, how do we get a good sort of like dusk evening, just going into nighttime, but not quite pitch black? So in order to get a better result, we're going to need to use a HDRI. So you can use pretty much any of these sort of blue sky ones. So in particular, if we go to assets, really what you're kind of looking at is going to be maybe like the sunrise or sunset shots. These HDRIs will look a lot better. Now, if we look at the settings, if I open up this panel here and show the more convoluted settings, we'll take a look. The background itself is set very low. We don't want this to be actually very bright. Again, we don't want it to be pitch black. So put it just to a very, very low level. So this is 0.04. And the amount of skylight coming in, the actual light that's lighting up the scene, is also set to a very, very low value. When it comes to the sky, you can also come down here and actually adjust the temperature and maybe add a little bit more blue to this. You don't have to go all the way to the left or right when you're adjusting the temperature. So the default is 6,500 Kelvin. Just take this a little bit more to the right. Add that little, kind of like it's adding a bluish tint to the overall scene. You want to avoid having the sun on, because if we turn this on, you can kind of see this breaks the illusion that the sun has gone below the horizon line and we're getting into that dusk, early evening, early night period. And that just, no matter what you do, you could like adjust the custom settings and try and, get it even more behind the house, but you honestly don't really need it. So we'll leave the sun off. Now, fog. I do recommend adding a little dash of fog. You want to control this. So my start distance is pretty far back. I don't want necessarily occluding the house. It's not meant to be kind of foggy. So my fog is set pretty far back. And then if you're not sure, just grab the density slider and then slowly just bring this back down to get the result that you're actually looking for. Just kind of barely above the horizon will be fine. So I have a lot. This is Kodak Vision. You can find these like Kodak and Fuji LUTs online if you just search for them. You'll find versions of these all over the internet. And the joy of working with the LUTs is we can actually adjust the intensity of these. Now, please note the LUT is not like a smart filter in any way. It is very much just like a blanket color grading or color adjustment. So you do have to like, what I'll normally do is I'll like throw one of these on, crank it to 100, and then I'll dial this back to get the look I'm actually going for. And 0.2 to 0.4 is probably going to be strong enough. By the way, if you do make changes, please remember just to hit the update scene thing right here. The other thing to note is we will have to adjust the exposure. Now, if I was doing this properly, I'd probably render kind of like two versions of this. I'd render one with slightly more exposure, and then I'd render a kind of a darker one, just a little bit more dramatic like that. And I'd actually use Photoshop to blend between the two. But for now, just be mindful that we want to drop that exposure a little bit. Highlight local exposure. Tweak this to your heart's content. Shadows, we do, however, want to make sure that they're dark. We do not want them to be pitch black, though. So when it comes to that, just be mindful, like the shadow local exposure, again, even in dim light environments, there's still some light. And even though we're using our trees here to kind of frame the shot using kind of negative space, like these black outlines that are blocking the render, you do want to make sure that there's still some visible information. It's not just, the tree should not just look like a complete like black line on the screen. After that, come in and adjust your highlights, your shadow, and your slope. Now, I've cranked up the contrast on this render quite a bit. There are different ways of working with this. This is something I learned from John Creation. One of his scenes that he had on YouTube, he did a whole walkthrough, and he had very high contrast, but very low shadow. It's kind of interesting look. So by default, like it would look like this. It's not entirely wrong, but if you crank up that contrast and then you dim the shadows, you do get a very, very nice result. You'll have to tweak the mid values, which is going to be the slope as well. And I wish there was like a magic perfect setting for this type of thing, but you are going to have to go in on all of those and just try and keep going to get the look that you're going for. Now, if you're not sure how it's going to look, go up to display and hit the render preview. There is, as D5 has kind of gone on, the gap between the viewport and the render preview has become more and more pronounced. I don't have a technical answer for that, for why that actually is, but what you see in the render preview is more akin to what the final image is actually going to look like, as opposed to what you see in the viewport. And you can kind of see there seems to be, there's more, what would the opposite of ambient occlusion be? There's just more light, I guess, in the shot. So keep that in mind when you're working. A couple of other settings, vignette. We will always have a little vignette on that's just that nice feathering darkness around the edges. Chromatic aberration, I just turn that off and then drop the saturation a little bit as well. Now, if you're finding that, for example, like mine is taking on a very pronounced green tint, we can always come back in here and look at the color grading. I'm going to reset all of these. And color grading is really powerful. I don't think a lot of users, I didn't use it for the longest because I was like, I'll just do it in Photoshop. You can come in and really adjust, like, for example, the shadows here. You can come in and, like, if you wanted to tint them in a particular way, you really can. Generally, what I'll do is I'll just kind of come in and just add more blue to those shadows. And you're getting a nice kind of look between the blues and kind of the oranges. It's kind of a little bit more of a Hollywoodish, I think, look. It's that kind of teal kind of look. And just trying to find a nice balance here on this. Please keep in mind, a lot of the green tint is going to come from just the amount of foliage in the scene. Now, you can do the same for the mid-tones. You could come in here and tweak those as well, just a little bit. But there is a danger of going too overboard with this. That's how I would do one shot. Like I said, I would still probably render two versions, one with the dark and one with a higher exposure and use Photoshop. Now, I want to show you just then a second version of this, which is an alternative night shot, which is this one here. I'll run through the settings for this. Actually, of the two, I kind of prefer this one quite a bit more. And I'll show you the environment settings here. We're using Dusk 01. Very low light. And if I open up the expanded menu here, you can see the background and light are set to very, very low values. The sky temperature, pretty far to the right in terms of the Kelvin, and I do have fog on here as well. They're pretty much the same fog settings. I think I just copied the exact parameters and pasted them into a new scene. Now, the effect here, a lot of the settings are going to be the exact same all the way over here. Again, we have pretty low exposure, very high contrast, drop the shadows, and just tweak the slope. And I've moved the white balance to be a little bit more blue on this one. Now, a lot of the benefit of this shot, like a lot of the look, if you will, is coming from another LUT, and this one is Cinematic 2.0. Now, I actually got these from Etsy. Now, the store that sold them is they're not selling stuff anymore. I don't know why, but that happens a lot with Etsy stores. But you can go on Etsy and you can see there are like a gazillion million different LUTs that you can look up just under presets and photo filters. You are looking for like dramatic LUTs. And if you don't want to pay for them, you can find LUTs online. Like there's lots and lots of different websites that will sell lookup tables for you. They're all varying quality. Like obviously the really good ones are going to be really expensive. But if you're just kind of like, okay, I want to spend like $10, something like this might work absolutely fine. Or something like this. You're just looking for something that will, in a very strong manner, really adjust the color of your actual render. So I'm using the Cinematic 2.0, and you can see I've like tons of these different LUTs loaded up under my kind of local tab. And then you just dial up the intensity. You just try and find something that actually looks pretty good for what you actually want. Again, exposure, contrast, all of that we've run through. Bloom. So one thing with bloom, there is a tendency if you're doing like nighttime renders to be like bloom, bloom, like every light should have bloom. Yeah, and that's sometimes it looks really cool. So just grab the bloom slider and crank it. And if you like the end result, keep it. Just be mindful. Some people will find it kind of distracting. Bloom and lens flare might be some of like the most like overdone, like stylistic things you can kind of do. I'd rather add lens flare in Photoshop because at least I can control it and I know exactly how it's going to look. Other than that, I did turn on the AO, but it's not really making a huge difference here. We will render this out as a separate render pass, and then in Photoshop, just composite it together, which is the better way to work. And one other thing I do want to mention on this render before we look at the end results is I do have a light. You can this is probably not strictly like physically accurate. I do have a big giant rectangle light here. Now this guy is just basically one of the square lights. You can just go up here to light and grab a rectangle light. I think it's 4 on the keyboard. And I've placed this in and it is blasting light directly at the actual house. Now we look at the settings over here. The intensity, it's extremely, extremely weak. Like almost not quite there. The attenuation radius is set to full. It is going as far as possible, and the color is set to white. Now, again, this is not strictly speaking physically accurate, right? But if you were shooting this like on a TV show or in a movie, you would ideally want the subject to be lit up more than the environment. The Gestalt would refer to it as like foreground and background, right? I want the viewer's eye going to the thing that's most lit up, using light to kind of draw their attention in, as opposed to using the trees that we're framing the actual shot with, right? So even though it's not really accurate, you can get away with this. You do want to be mindful that the light should not be so strong as to be kind of weirdly unrealistic, and make sure that it's, it's kind of off, like kind of like out of camera, if you will. I don't want it lighting up the trees and things like that. So you can definitely do this, and I know there's probably some other like more advanced ways where you could do this with maybe like a big glass window that kind of blocks the light using the opacity slider, but whatever, just fake it, right? Like just a big old light pointing at your house, as long as it's not lighting up the rest of the environment. So just something to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and take a look at the end results, and hopefully you found the video useful. It's kind of like doing like you want to do night renders, but not really do pitch black skies. Night renders are not really night renders. They're low light renders. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the end results. All right, everybody, let's run through the sort of like post process with this really quickly, and I'll just show you what I mean by kind of rendering out two different versions, a kind of brighter one and then a bit of a darker one. So let's just hear. So I did render actually, oddly enough, a third because I realized I hadn't painted any grass on the ground here. And I did need some foliage on there for a little bit of the AI enhancer. So whatever. So we can ignore that one. So here we have our original night, a little bit too bright here. And then above that, we had a slightly darker version. Now, I did also combine these three with the upscaler, which kind of just made some of the foliage pop a little bit more. It didn't really do a huge amount. So there is basically the lighter render and the darker render kind of smushed together. On top of that, we had a series of AI enhancers, and if I disable the mask here, you can kind of see it did a pretty good job. And then I did another one as well, and again, if we just sort of disable these layer masks, and I've done videos on how to paint and merge between these. You just kind of take the best bits from each render pass and then use a mask to paint them in and out. So I kind of liked what the lights did here, and some of what it did to the tree trunks looked a little bit better. So you kind of smush them all together. The brightness adjustment passed for some reason. And then I brought in the AO and I just put this to multiply. That'll really darken those kind of, you can just about see in the sort of what I want the occluded areas to be, those deep dark shadows. And then I had a reflection pass. What I did with this was move it to the top of the stack, use a Gaussian blur, and then change it to screen at a low opacity. That worked out pretty nice. Once you're done kind of merging all of these together, put them in a group, merge the group, duplicate it one more time, and this is where we ended up. So this was where we were kind of done. Did a little bit more post-production, added some of that dreaded lens flare, and I kind of fixed some of the parts where the lights outside were just kind of looking a little bit too weird. After that, we did one more pass on just light and dark, just basically using a brightness contrast adjustment layer, and then kind of just using masking to get that to go where you want. And then I did a brightness adjustment layer, except I made it super bright, and I used that to paint in and out with a mask on the edges of the trees to give them a little bit of a highlight. That's all. It would technically be called a rim light. It's just that edge lighting on the side of an object. Is it physically accurate? Probably not, but it's cool. And then you add your logo and then some birds in the sky using the Archie 9 brush set, which is I think that's nearly 10 years old, if not more at this stage. Just adds a tiny little bit. And so there we go, kind of dusk, evening / nighttime renders. And hopefully you found the tutorial kind of useful. And I'll see you in the next video soon. Cheers.